Hi, everyone. Good morning to some of you and good evening to the rest of us. It's really a pleasure to be here today in my capacity as a curator of the exhibition, Sharbaka, Entanglement, Attunement. This exhibition is organized by the lab that I run, Haraka, Experimental Lab for Arab Art and Social Thought. Haraka is a multivalent word. It means movement in the broadest sense, so embodied, political, social, but Haraka also means diacritic. So it's a kind of symbol that is fundamental to giving meaning to the Arabic language. And when Anne approached me about collaborating on an exhibition for 19 Washington Square North, I just couldn't say no. She wanted to collaborate with us because she was interested in doing something to do with art, archives, the UAE, and it felt like such a gift, especially that we were in the first year of setting up Mawrid Arab Center for the Study of Art, and which houses my lab. So artists and archives are actually at the heart of what we do. But actually, during that time, I was really struggling. Like many of us during the pandemic, actually, I was having a pretty tough time. I was feeling exhausted. I was sort of living in 2D life, Zoom fatigue. Everything felt flat. I was screamed out, really disembodied, actually. And there were many times when I felt just totally and utterly numb, like I couldn't feel anything. And so in order to figure out if and how I would do this, I would walk. So I would escape to a park next to my house called Divecha, and wearing my mask, I'd walk outside and listen to music. And often on those walks, I would send voice notes to people I cared about, friends, family, colleagues who were my research collaborators. And as I walked, I felt myself coming back to myself, or at least fragments of myself. Hearing people's voice notes while I walked gave me a sense of connection that I really needed at that time. There's a particular kind of music that I listened to on these walks that made me come alive. And I learned through a voice note exchange with a friend that that music that my body responded to so viscerally had a very particular kind of clap called Sharbaka. Sharbaka is this kind of polyrhythmic clapping, and it's historically practiced by pearl divers, but also sailors in the Gulf region. And this kind of music actually fuses influences from a variety of locations, East and West. This was the music that actually enabled people to get through painful conditions and difficult times at sea. And one can't do Sharbaka alone. It emerges, the rhythm of Sharbaka emerges through a feeling of deep attunement to bodies in movement. And so in that sense, Sharbaka means attunement. But when I've asked Arabic speakers, what does Sharbaka mean? They rarely do this. Actually, usually they do this. So they'll say, Sharbaka, mitsharbik, entangled. So Sharbaka is a word that phonetically resembles or sort of imitates the sound that it describes, Sharbaka, entanglement. And as you can imagine, to my total delight, I realized that Sharbaka, like Haraka, is a multivalent word, entanglement, attunement. When I looked it up in the dictionary, so the other Mawrid, okay, I didn't find it. It doesn't exist. And so Sharbaka is actually a word that is people use and respond to based on lived experience and not formal recognition. And so it became clear to me on these walks that this is exactly the word that would come to capture the essence of an exhibition that I would curate for 19 Washington Square North. This word that emerges from the region's history is also a word that can potentially help enable us to understand the human condition more broadly. So in other words, how might Sharbaka's meanings inspire us to pay attention to the dual sense of entanglement, attunement that has never been more clear to us than in the current circumstances of this global pandemic? So for this exhibition, I chose 5 established contemporary artists whose work I absolutely love. Farah Qasimi, Alaa Younis, Alaa Edris, Vikram Divecha, Monira Qadiri. I've been following all of them for the last 8 years or so. And in some cases, I've known those artists intimately. I've known their work intimately, like Farah Qasimi, who asked me to write the essay for her film, that is featured at this exhibition back when it was debuted in the UAE for the first time in 2019. And in other cases, I actually just used the opportunity of this exhibition to dig a little deeper into the work of people whose work I admired, like Vikram Divecha. I've attended, his exhibitions in the past, but I actually got to know him a lot better through a studio visit and beautiful, intense, long conversations in preparation for the research for this show. And I chose these 5 artists because their work captures so vividly this idea of entanglement, attunement that operates in our region. And the works chosen for this show focus on the UAE. And they do so in various ways and based on different locations. So they take us from the historic village of Khat in Ras Al Khaimah to the dark shores off the coast of Abu Dhabi, to the first TV film studio in Ajman, to an architect's computer screen in Sharjah. And I wanted to say that I conceive of the 5 works in this show really as archives of the UAE that complicate our understanding of archives here and elsewhere. And these archives are of different forms: a performance archive, a photo story archive, a summoned archive, an archive of negotiated futures, and an affective archive. The first work is conceived as a performance archive. The first time I saw this work for Monira Al-Qadiri was in Warehouse 421 in Abu Dhabi, and it immediately spoke to me. This image is from a video titled Diver, and it was filmed off the coast of Abu Dhabi. And as you can see here, Al-Qadiri presents 4 female figures that are engaged in synchronized swimming. They're wearing light refracting bodysuits, and these bodysuits merge the sheen of both pearl and oil, symbolizing and fusing pre- and post-oil histories of the Gulf. Her video is set to a background of Bahri music, a traditional music form that contains the Sharbaka clapping that I had described earlier. Her video becomes a kind of performance archive. The bodies represent the combined seductions of global capitalist entanglements with the transnational histories of bodily attunement created on Gulf waters. The second I call a photo story archive. This image that you can see is from Ajman Independent Studios. It's a photographic archive of the first studio that was set up in Ajman, one of the UAE's northern emirates. It's part of Alaa Younis's larger work called Drachmas. The studio, which was established in 1975, had produced several famous Arabic language television series, mainly dramas and crime thrillers, and they were produced for a pan-Arab audience. And so the studio was effectively a company town, which included members of cast, crew, cooks from across the Arab world, including Jordan, Lebanon, Egypt, Palestine, and Yemen. Younis created 5 new works for this show from her archive. So she did this just for us, which I can't tell you how delighted I am about this. She took the photographs and then she superimposed images of the film sets and the people, the actors, who were involved in the studio's production, enabling the story to come alive in this beautiful photographic form. So for example, on this image, you can see on the left that there's this tiny little figurines, 3 little figurines in the middle of your screen, which are from a show called Tawalat al-Ahdath Asifa, which was produced in 1982. And it has well-known actors like Layla Alwi and Hassan Mustafa. In the second image, which is titled Virality, you can see a photograph of filed papers from the archive. But on top of that, she superimposed a digital reproduction of the set of the show called La Ya Binti Al-Aziza, or No Dear Daughter. And it features the actors. So you can actually see on the right is Abdelmen'em Al-Madbouli, who plays the father of the 3 sleeping children on the left. And this is a very famous scene in which he puts them to bed and then sings a song called Toot Toot, which became a very popular melody in the 1980s across the region. So her archive illuminates the Gulf as a migratory destination, a node in the region's creative industry, and a central hub for the production of transnational Arab culture. The third is a summoned archive. The figure you see here represents an ancient spirit or a jinn named Nar. In her film by the same name, Farah al-Qasimi summons her to illustrate the post-colonial history of Ras Al Khaimah. Her work utilizes found internet footage, studio acting, and documentary-style images to offer a moving body politic that goes beyond the binaries of modern traditional, male-female, or human-non-human. Al-Qasimi composed the music for this film, and many scenes capture bodies moving, dancing, or gyrating to various rhythms. Her work suggests that embodied attunement is a subversive response to the entanglement of old and new forms of colonial modernity. And I've shown this film in my own teaching several times, and every time I see it, I uncover like a new layer with complete delight. The fourth work is conceived as an archive of negotiated futures. Vikram Divecha's film is called Vida, which translates to house in Malayalam. It is an inquiry into the structures that some migrants design and build in anticipation of their eventual return to India. This work documents the experiences of a Keralite migrant family that resides in Sharjah, as their members negotiate the ideals of an aspirational future home in Kerala with the architect who is designing that house for them. Divecha's work is part of an ongoing project. It unravels how negotiations over the house's AutoCAD design are shaped by the complex intersections of gender, class, caste, ethnicity, and migration. And his work enables us to see how imagining one's home is premised on exclusionary political projects and intimate relational constructions at the same time. Finally, the fifth is an affective archive. This image is a still from Alaa Edris's video titled School. Edris reenacts her experience as a 9-year-old student in an abandoned public school in the small historic village of Khat, south of Ras Al Khaimah. Through slow and methodical movements, almost dance-like, we witness her immersed in smashing large, delicate halogen light bulbs against various surfaces. Through this act of defiance, Edris embodies a rejection of the Arabic adage that al-ilmu nur, knowledge is light. Instead, she invites us to question the entanglement shaping modern educational institutions and their disciplinary techniques. So taken together, the 5 works that I just described to you illustrate the forms of entanglement attunement that make up the movement of people, ideas, and capital within the Gulf, across the Indian Ocean and East Africa, and across the Arab region. And the images that I just showed you are digital images. Of the printed images that are currently on the walls in 19 Washington Square North. So the first 2 that I described by Monira Qadiri and Alaa Younis, those are photographs that are hung together on one wall. And then on the opposite wall, where you see kind of on the background of where Anne is sitting, are time-stamped video stills from the works by Farah al-Qasimi, Vikram Divecha, and Alaa Edris, the last 3. And I selected those so that they almost form a kind of time series. And we printed them so that they are in the size of a computer screen. So when you sort of stand in front of them, it's almost as if you're standing in front of your own computer screen. And in addition to the printed images in this exhibition space, all of those images are in fact available in digital form on the Sharbaka website. That would enable people to access them even if they're not able to physically visit the exhibition space itself. And so you might be wondering at this point, does the exhibition space only contain partial work? I mean, it just has video stills from Nar, traces of Diver without the Bahri music? And the answer is yes. To be able to access the full work, you'd actually have to embrace the exhibition space, 19 Washington Square North, as a portal rather than a final destination. So you'd be invited to take part in a program which engages with artists, social scientists, and students to unpack some of the artistic themes for the duration of the exhibition. And so in that sense, the program is actually conceived as part of the curatorial process, not a series of events that happen after the exhibition opens. And this is what I'm interested in investigating, something called a processual exhibition, an exhibition that unfolds slowly over time. In Back to the Drawing Board, Vikram Divecha engages in conversations with academics about his work in progress. These include Deepak Onikrishnan, Surabhi Sharma, and George Jose at NYU Abu Dhabi. And departing from a traditional artist talk, these private-public conversations emphasize the importance of process in artistic and academic work. In Theorizing Up, which is hosted by Haraka Lab, we feature 5 ethnographic projects on the UAE that cover topics such as labor, impermanence, belonging, authenticity, and mobility. And some of the people you see here might be familiar faces. John O'Brien, Laura Assaf, Rana Al-Mutawa, who are professors in the Social Research and Public Policy program. And we're joined by Nidhi Mahajan, who is currently a fellow at the Africa Institute in Sharjah. And in these conversations, we reflect on our process, but we also share ideas about entanglement, attunement that emerged from our own research that correspond to the themes of the Sharbaka exhibition. In What We Unlearned, a student panel responds to the theme of Alaa Edris's video work, School, and unpacks questions of power, positionality, and process in educational institutions. Finally, we have Ghazil Lefi, an applied ethnomusicologist, who will lead a Sharbaka clapping workshop, embodying ideas of attunement and entanglement. And we do this in collaboration with Carol Brandt in Global Education. So this workshop will sort of be a campus-wide experiment in the corporeal transmission of knowledge. So these are just 4 examples of the kind of conversations that sort of constitute the program part of the processual exhibition. And I guess the one thing I wanted to say about them is that the one overarching principle in designing this program was accommodating the needs of the people who are involved in it. So rather than a sort of set program, we aimed at trying to design something that makes space for flexibility and improvisation, that attempts to help people think through their creative process with some vulnerability rather than sort of defaulting to a safe performance. And as we experiment with this notion of processual, both in the content and in the form of the exhibition, my hope is that this will give us an opportunity, as imperfect and as uneven as it may be, to sort of reconnect with our bodies and with one another, and to have many conversations over the next couple of months. And so to end, I just wanted to share a short video that I received on WhatsApp on one of my walks in Bersha Park. And it was one of many voice notes from Rasha Al-Abbas, a Dubai-based designer and calligrapher that I was in conversation with when I was developing this exhibition. And she's the one who came up with a font for the word Sharbaka, which is so dear to my heart. And I wanted to share this video with you because it sort of perfectly captures the feel of experimentation that shaped the making of this processual exhibition.
So I started somewhere here where I was trying to separate the letters to be the ta 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 ta, you know, the claps. Harakat are always there, and I love to have a contrast. And then I started doing those, you know, trying to accentuate the clapping, even the fact that it's متضاربين, gives you command the angle of the hands, you know, when they're meeting, you know, the meeting points. And then here I just try to go a bit more curvaceous about it. هون اللي حبيته إنه you have this fluidity, you have this continuity that is even barely broken between الره والبه. عندك شر بكى, so أنت هون مش موصولين, بس I went further إنه almost ينوصلوا, وبرضه بتقرية. عرفتي هلأ في this is all by hand, بس إنه if I were to clean it up I would open it a bit more, but it's not breaking the curve. عرفتي كيف? And then you have this هيك ta ta, I don't know how to explain it, but this ta ta makes me, you know, of the claps makes me feel like I want to go chop chop, you know. So I like this very much too. I try to also play with the calf, create, these are just ideas, yeah, playing with the calf to create like a stave and possibly, but this is I think it's not the essence of this kind of music. Went in this direction, tried to also thicken the claps, but this was too clean. And then went on to this. This is where I tried to create the layering of the claps again. And we're here.
So this video just captures a taste of what I hope this exhibition might come to be for the people who participate in it. An opportunity to sort of experiment and play a little, to recover a sense of movement, and to engage in conversations with one another. And like Rasha, there are many people who have been involved in making this exhibition what it has become, and I just want to mention them here. So of course, the first person is Anne Morning, who extended this generous invitation and whose organizational abilities are actually a form of art. And I want to mention also Salwa Miqdadi, who entrusted me with curating what is essentially the inaugural show for the Al-Mawrid Arab Center for the Study of Art. And I'm really, really grateful to be part of history in this way. The third person who's actually not able to be with us today, here with us today, is Carrie Barrett, from whom I have learned so much during the last half a year. She supported, this show through her wisdom and knowledge of the technicalities of curation. Give you guys an example. So like Kodak moved a chunk of its business from New York to overseas just as we were about to go to production. And if Carrie hadn't been resourceful, kind of in the nick of time, literally this exhibit would have just not been possible. I also want to thank Hannah Bruckner, who has been a pioneer actually in supporting interdisciplinary collaborations between the social sciences and the arts at NYU Abu Dhabi, mainly through projects for student capstones, which I think is incredibly important, and now also beyond. Bana Qattan, who is a friend and curator at the Museum of Contemporary Art in Chicago, kept telling me, curate based on what you are, not based on what a curator ought to be. And I will never forget that for her. I also just want to recognize my team, Ban Qattan, a research associate in Haraka Lab, and Kashif Haji, my research assistant and advisor on all things film related. These two have been an incredible blessing during this time. And they've been working across major time differences, navigating unpredictable working conditions, yet remaining beautifully resilient and creative throughout. And finally, last but not least, the artists in this show, Farah Qasimi, Alaa, Younis, Monira, Qadiri, Alaa, Edris, and Vikram Divecha, who were willing to join me in this experiment of a processual exhibition, even when we didn't know what that really was. Actually, we don't know what it is. We're not going to know until the very end. But they were incredibly generous in sharing a radically different form of their own artwork for that purpose. And I'm very grateful. I can't wait for the conversations with them and with you. Thank you.